Yo, what's up, everybody? Stoner Jesus here. It is time for the Bible live stream, a Highway to God Bible live stream, the third episode. As you see right there, the stream on the bottom, the crawler, whatever it is, the ticker tells you what's going on while you're watching. Of course, the live streams are on X, at Stoner Jesus 420, at Highway to God on X. If we ever get that verified, we'll start doing the live streams over there. But I mean, why not do it here? Jesus comes to where the sinners are. And a lot of sinners follow me, over 180,000, which is crazy. Why else would I have that kind of following if not for this? And memes. This and memes. Thanks everybody for checking out the show. Of course, the YouTube, A Highway to God on YouTube. That's where the on-demand videos of the live stream are going to be. Really, I'm not a fan of this hat. I mean, the hat's cool, but it's like it doesn't fit on my big-ass head. That annoys me, but I digress. The show, contrary to popular belief, is not about my big-ass head. It's about the Bible. Tonight we're doing Genesis 1, 3 through 5. Yes, we're taking a slow pace, but I mean, Genesis is going to take a long time. There's a lot in Genesis. Creation, Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, Noah, the Tower of Babel, and the story of Abraham and his kids. It's a lot. But there'll be some books where we don't do much at all. Like, with like the genealogies and stuff. It's important. There's not much I can do with it as far as the live stream. The same with like building the tabernacle and the specifications for that, or how the priests, how Aaron and his sons were supposed to be consecrated, and the sacrifices and the rules for the sacrifices. There's not a whole lot I can do with all that. There's important things to be gleaned from, and we will glean what we can, but there's only so much you can do with those. But in any case, we're going to spend a lot of time in Genesis. It's the foundation for everything else, if you're reading the Bible. If you're wondering about myself, if you don't know anything about me, I was an agnostic for over 30 years, which I think gives me a unique perspective. If you're an atheist, if you're an agnostic, if you're any of those things, if you're a non-believer, if you're not a Christian, you're not going to find any judgment here. I know all about it. Like I said, I spent over 30 years being that way. And it wasn't until a religious experience made me feel the power of God that I changed. And I'm under no illusions that I'm going to do that here with anyone. But we are going to enjoy some weed. We are going to talk about the Bible. We are going to talk about God. And if you are down for that, then, welcome. Ron, welcome. Other person, I'm not going to put your shit up there because that's a link. It has nothing to do with the Bible or anything else. It's a link to your shit. I don't care about your shit. I'm talking about my shit. Not about your shit. Yes, I say shit a lot. Anyway, that's my background. I'm very new to intense Bible study, a little over 200 days into it. So I'm still learning, and I will be learning for years and years to come. And I look forward to it. In any case, before we get to anything else, I do want to mention, and I'll change the little scroll along the bottom here for a while so you get the information. The Make-A-Wish Foundation fundraiser is Stoner Jesus 420 on X the entire month of May. Donate at least $10. You'll be eligible to win something from one of our awesome giveaway sponsors. There are 11 of them now. We're talking about ounces of bud, edibles, merch, all kinds of stuff that you can win. Tiltify.com/@StonerJesus420. We're doing it on Tiltify, so you don't have to worry about being on the up and up. The money goes directly, as soon as it's processed, it goes directly to Make-A-Wish. And so far, we raised $90 of our $420 goal, so we got to get that going. Let's go. Tiltify.com/@StonerJesus420, the Make-A-Wish Foundation fundraiser. I'll leave that scrolling on the bottom for a little while, so you may check it out. And we'll probably talk about it again here toward the end of the show as well. If you're watching on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, like, share, all of that good stuff. Now, as far as resources of what I use, as far as the reading and the commentary for the purposes of this show, I have the Enduring Word Bible app, which you really can't see. It's just a bright light, which I guess is symbolic. It's a bright light. But trust me, I can see the words. I'll soon be reading them. My favorite book in the whole world, which is very small print and is not conducive to what we are doing here, is the ESV Study Bible. This is where I'm doing my cover to cover reading of the Bible. I also have the YouVersion Bible app. I'm 215 days into that. Many Bible plans. I've completed almost 80 Bible plans. Some are a few days, some are a year. I'm into the year of the New Testament and the Old Testament, plus a bunch of different other plans. Not only that, other resources you might want to check out. Check out Bible Project on YouTube if you're interested in short animated videos about each book of the Bible. There's tons of actually, obviously, documentaries and studies and Bible studies and deep studies and just all kinds of stuff. AI recreations and readings, all kinds of stuff you can get on YouTube and other places as far as the Bible goes. But Bible Project is pretty good. So go check that out. And if you're in the podcast, the 10-Minute Bible Talks is a great podcast, as is Bible in a Year, BibleInAYear.com. Another great podcast. It's more of a dramatic reading of each story in the Bible, kind of like the old radio shows used to be, dramatic readings. All of those are great resources if you want to check them out. And if not, well, just watch this show as we go very slowly through the Bible. And we enjoy some cannabis as well. They got put here for us to use, and millions and millions of people use it every single day to help them with a myriad of issues. So there. It's my cannabis rant for the night. So now we're doing Genesis 1, 3 through 5. And the creation story is very important, obviously, for many reasons, but the main reason, excuse me, is that everything flows from it. If you don't believe that God created the world, then nothing in the universe, then nothing else in the rest of the Bible is going to make any sense or have any importance to you whatsoever. That's the foundation of everything. And as I've said the first couple of weeks, I elaborated more on last week. I feel like, because the Bible is, to me, God's word, and it's all true, but I also think that it is what God thinks we can understand. And even then, it's iffy. There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that's been debated for thousands of years, obviously, that we don't have a firm grasp on. But I think that the notion of, like I said this last week, the notion of that the creation story that's in the Bible is everything, I find that hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that we would be able to comprehend creation and what went into it. I think it's a very simplified, truthful version of what happened. It's condensed because there's no way our brains could comprehend creation. There's no way our brains could comprehend what goes into creating the universe, this world, the things of this world, any of that. And obviously it comes down to faith, and that's what's important in the end. But I think it's such a monumental undertaking. If God were to just pour the words out on a page and we tried to comprehend what actually happened, it would be impossible. Like I said, we barely comprehend what's there. We've struggled with that as human beings for thousands of years. And it's a very simplified version. I mean, God, I feel like he's dumbed it down as much as he can. And hey, maybe, I don't know. I didn't create us, so I can't comment on our stupidity. But really, the Old Testament is just nothing but a story of human beings failing over and over again. And it's I mean, it's okay in the end because you get to the New Testament and Jesus comes, but up until then, it's a real bummer. It's, it's a real bummer. We can't get our shit together at all. Sometimes better than others. Obviously, sometimes it gets real bad, like bad, and shit needs to be destroyed. It's not always that bad, but it always comes back to us screwing up. And of course, the reasoning for that we get into with Adam and Eve and all that. But that's not what we're talking about tonight. That's right. Thank you, Ron. Checking out the show. Droopy Dog as well. Welcome. Trouble seeing the comments. My microphone's in a bad spot for seeing that side of the computer screen. Anyway, tonight, Genesis 1 through 3 through 5 covers the first day of creation. Light is created and divided from darkness. Now, we're just going to read the past 3 through 5 to begin with, and we'll just ruminate on that for a second. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. Think about those words, however many there is, 30. I didn't count them, I don't know. And all the stuff that it describes. Literally the creation of light and dark and night and day. And you think about the mechanics of all of that, how that's created, how we get day and night with the spinning of the earth and all that. It's ridiculous to think that we can comprehend that. And that's why all of that's condensed in like 30 words. I try not to humanize God too much because that's a bad road to go down, but it's helpful sometimes. And in an instance like this, it's like you can almost see God just like, oh, they're so dumb. They're so dumb. They're not going to get this. But I'm going to give them this and see what they do with it. Because if I try to explain to them what actually happened, their heads are going to explode right in front of me. It's got to be very frustrating. I mean, obviously, God, it's not a problem for God, but I would imagine that in any other context, it's very frustrating. So here, dummies, this is as basic as I can get it. There was light and dark. I created the light. I separated from the darkness. Bam! Day and night. There you go. It's as simple as I can get it. As I said, this Enduring Word Bible app has commentary from various Christian scholars throughout the years. Also commentary. It has links to other verses in the Bible that talk about, in this case, creation, and you can hyperlink to those and read those, and it's a great resource. Enduring Word Bible app. We'll start with "Let there be light." The first step from chaos to order is to bring light. This is also the way God works in our life. So there's something to be gleaned from every single sentence. Paul wrote about the light brought to us by the gospel. But even if our gospel was veiled, if it is veiled to those who are perishing, whose minds the God of this age has blinded, who do not believe, lest the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine on them. For we do not preach ourselves, but Christ Jesus the Lord, and ourselves your bondservants for Jesus' sake. For it is the God who commanded light to shine out of darkness, who has shown in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. 2 Corinthians 4, 3 through 6. I said links to other places in the Bible, in this case the New Testament, where these things are mentioned or recapped. Next three words, then God said. God did not have to fashion light with his hands. It was enough for God to merely speak the words, light be, and there was light. One of the commentators, Spurgeon, that they use a lot in the Enduring Word Bible Lab, he said, have you noticed that this light came instantaneously? The Hebrew suggests this far better than our translation is sublimely brief. Quote, light be, light was. I guess the literal translation from the Hebrew. Really just as simple as it can be. And yes, obviously God has the ability to speak and things come into being. But you think about the actual coming into being of light and like envisioning it happening, and it's something that's incomprehensible to us. The commentary continues, because God created things by speaking them into existence, some have said we can operate on the same principle, speaking things into existence by faith. This is often based on a wrong understanding of Hebrews 11:3. By faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, which is taken to say God himself used faith in creating the world. Instead, it says it is by faith we understand God created the world. Also, some have a wrong understanding of Mark 11:22, which is taken literally to mean have God's faith, as if we are to have the same faith God has. But the words Jesus answered and said to them, have faith in God, cannot mean this, because faith, as Hebrews 11:1 tells us, is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. What does God hope for? What does he not see? An omnipotent, omniscient being certainly does not have any need for faith. He is the object of faith as well as the source of faith. And you see more in Ephesians 2-8. Next, there was light. Genesis tells us light, day and night, each existed before the sun and the moon were created on the fourth day. This shows us that light is more than a physical substance. It also has a supernatural aspect. In the new heavens and the new earth, there won't be any sun or moon. God himself will be the light. It's from Revelation 22:5. And again, a lot of this creates not only debate among believers, but it's used, especially the part about light coming before the sun and all that. It's used by atheists and agnostics to not. It's a very simple thing for an agnostic or an atheist to say to keep someone from actually looking into it. I know, because I did that. There's a lot of very simple things that are taken out of context in the Bible that atheists and agnostics use to veer people off the path to God. And again, I was one of those people. Not only was I an agnostic, for many, many years, I mocked God. The entire character of Stoner Jesus was created out of mockery of Jesus, of God, and of the Christian religion. So the fact that I'm sitting here now doing this, I mean, it's up to you to wonder how crazy that is, or think about how crazy that is. You can do that tonight after the show. The thing about how crazy that is. In any case, here we are. As I said before, at the beginning of the show, God has seen fit to give me a ridiculous amount of followers on X, many of whom don't believe. And as I've said, I'm not under any illusion that me doing a show like this is going to help you believe, but you know what? There's worse ways to spend your time. That way, don't forget to just join us. Information for the Make-A-Wish fundraiser is scrolling along the bottom. Check that the comments. Ron, chillin'. Also, Jeremib. Absolutely. Happy Mother's Day. I think Jeremy. I think I got that name right. I think I did pretty well. In any case, continuing. Genesis 1, 3 through 5. We're talking about the darkness. The darkness God later sent upon the Egyptians, Exodus 10:21, had a tangible quality to it, far beyond what we usually think of as being associated with darkness. It could be felt. This demonstrates a certain supernatural element which can be related to light and darkness. Next up, God saw the light, that it was good. Each day of creation in Genesis 1 ends with God's declaration of what he has created was good. Here, God declared that the light was good. This tells us that God's creation had an inherent goodness to it, and this goodness remains through, though it has been subjected to futility through the sin and fallenness of humanity. See more Romans 8, 20 through 22. This tells us there are things that are truly good and things that are not good. This tells us that God knows what is good, and that his description of what is good and what is evil matches what is real. That's a really important point, because sorry, as I was saying, it's a really important point because, as we find out here soon when it comes to Adam and Eve, the fundamental disconnect boiled down to one thing between God and humanity is our choosing to define what is good and what is not good for ourselves. The root of everything, all sin, everything, every problem humanity faces can be traced back to that. All of everything that I did in my life, everything that befell me, all the sin that I was involved in, all of it stems from that. The creation of good and evil and those standards in your own mind. Because it's easy to say to yourself, well, I believe X, Y, and Z. But if X, Y, and Z aren't rooted in anything, X, Y, and Z start moving. And if you're given, and if you take a long enough period of time, X, Y, and Z can move wherever you want them to move so imperceptibly that you still think they're in the same spot. You still think you live by the same standards that you always have, but you wake up one day and you realize you haven't. You weren't. You didn't. You're not living by the same standards that you used to. You moved the goalpost and you were okay with it because the goalposts weren't set in anything. They weren't set in any kind of concrete. You just move those bitches wherever you want to. And then where they are, well, that's where they are. That's where they are now. I'm good. See or not. And everything I just said over the last 2 minutes, I would have mocked someone for less than a year ago. And the reason for that is because I set my own standards of good and evil in my own head. So I can mock someone who has the belief that I now have. I was mocking people that had the belief in their heart that I now possess. The irony of that is obvious, but it's also, as I've said, I think it gives me a unique perspective on things. Anybody's familiar with the story of Paul, Saul of Tarsus in the New Testament? Obviously on a much, much larger scale, but it's the same kind of thing. Paul, when he was Saul, was a persecutor of early Christians, had them imprisoned, at the very least, facilitated murder of Christians. But Paul became arguably the greatest evangelist for Jesus Christ that ever lived, besides Jesus himself, obviously. He wrote a shit ton of the New Testament. Someone who used to persecute Christians. God will use different perspectives for all kinds of things. So, anyway, continuing. Because I want to get through Genesis 1, 3 through 5. God divided the light from the darkness. Most of the days of creation involve some kind of dividing, some way of making a distinction between one thing and another. And it goes through like the different ways this happened. Light is divided from darkness in Genesis 1:4. The waters of the firmament are divided on day 2, Genesis 1:7. The land is divided from the sea. Day 3 is Genesis 1:9 through 10. Day is divided from night. It's on day 4, Genesis 1:14. Sea creatures. Whoops. If you hit the link, the other verses will come up that's linked to. Sea creatures and birds are divided by their kind, Genesis 1:21. Humanity is divided from land creatures. Day 6 is Genesis 1:25 through 26. Later, we also see woman divided from man, Genesis 2:21 through 23. Taken together, these show that it is important to God to make distinctions. Not everything is the same, and it is wrong and potentially dangerous to blur the lines separating distinctions God has made. A significant theme in God's great plan of the ages is the reconciling of all things in Jesus Christ, Ephesians 1:10. But this is the reconciliation of things that remain distinct from each other, not the erasing of all distinctions. Continuing, so the evening and the morning were the first day. Many wonder if this was a literal day in the sense of what we think of as a day, or if it was a geological age. Some say that God created the world in 6 days. Others say he created it in 6 vast geological ages. There is disagreement among Christians on this. The plainest and simplest meaning of the text is that he created in 6 days as we think of days. Commentary from Kidner. If the days were not days at all, would God have countenanced the word? Does he trade in inaccuracies, however edifying? The question hinges on the proper use of language. Leopold said there ought to be no need of refuting the idea that yom means period. Reputable dictionaries know nothing of this notion. Hebrew dictionaries are our primary source of reliable information concerning Hebrew words. And Spurgeon said this is no doubt a literal and accurate account of God's first days in the creation of the world. So obviously there's a lot of debate. As I said, there's debate among theologians alone within the Christian faith. We talked about last week, and as many have talked about obviously over the years, there's hundreds and hundreds of denominations in Christianity. There was so much disagreement over one book and what's written in that one book. It's one of the things that makes it easy for, as I said, atheists and agnostics to kind of pick apart Christianity and convince a lot of people that it's just not worth the effort and learning more about it. A lot of that, at least for someone like me, a lot had to happen for that to be overcome. A lot had to happen in my life to get me to listen to what God was telling me. And what I realized now God was telling me all along, that I just didn't pay attention to. When I started reading the Bible, one of the first things I read was, I started in Proverbs. So I came to Proverbs 3:5 pretty quick. Without relying on your own understanding. It's still the verse, and I suppose it always will be, that stands out to me most about or from the Bible. Because again, it's another way of saying defining good and evil in your own terms. If you rely on your own understanding, there's going to come a time in your life when you are fucked. Whether or not that time brings you to God, I don't know. It's going to be up to you and God. But if you're watching this and that phrase sticks to you, relying on your own understanding, do not rely on your own understanding, it's something to look into, it's something to think about, because it's going to fuck you. as has been pointed out many times and is pointed out in the Bible, God is not to be mocked. That's a real thing. It's real shit. And unless you feel it, me saying that means nothing to you, and I get that. It would mean nothing to me. Someone like me saying that to me a year ago, I'm like, yeah, that's just your opinion, bro. And it is. It still is. Just my opinion, bro, but I don't know. It's up to you. I'm just telling you the way it was for me. We're going to end it there. Genesis 1, 3 through 5. Thanks, everybody. Checking out the stream. Go to YouTube/A Highway to God and subscribe. Get the on-demand episodes there as well. The live streams will continue on Stern Jesus 420 for the foreseeable future because that's where the following is. But go follow A Highway to God on X as well. Ron asks, why do we cry in his presence? I don't know. I don't know if everybody does. I certainly have. And I certainly will again. I will cry like a motherfucker. It's deep shit. It's shit that you feel, and that's what makes it real. That's what makes faith real, at least to me. Thanks, everybody. Checking out the third episode. It's awesome of you. Go spread the word. Go check out the other stuff I do. I do 4 shows. I do a lot of crap. Ask Stern Jesus 420 on X. Where you're watching this, unless you're watching it later on YouTube, and then go check out Stern Jesus 420 on X. Check out A Highway to God on X. That would be dope of you if you do those things. All right. God bless you all. See you next time.